Hello guys, it's Robbie here and welcome in this recap where I'm going to break down today's EU and GU during London session. And let's start everything on EU. Well, let's talk about the 4-hour time frame first, but to be honest, we don't really need that in-depth recap, in-depth breakdown about the 4-hour time frame. Technically, the whole week was an insanely strong bullish pressure to the upside. Since Wednesday, price barely made any pullback, as you can see on the 4-hour time frame. So we could really expect the continuation to the upside, but at some point, price has to make a bigger pullback to the downside after this huge bullish movement that has happened since Wednesday, but technically that has happened since Monday. So here was Monday, and during the whole week, price made only this pullback to the downside, technically on the 4-hour time frame on EU. So yeah, at some point we could expect a reversal to the downside, but we still could expect the continuation after 15-minute demand mitigations to the upside, and technically this was the plan. The 4-hour time frame was extremely bullish. There is literally no doubt about it. Just look at this movement that has caused already, actually, finally, a daily swing break of structure to the upside. So yeah, we could really expect the continuation to the upside, continuation of the bullish trend, but also in this close future, in the near future, we have a chance to see a bigger pullback to the downside to some valuable demand areas, for example, this one or to this one right here, but we will see. So let's take a look on the 15-minute time frame. Forward is extremely bullish. 15-minute time frame is right here. There was a daily supply zone mitigation, but price just broken above it. There was no doubt about it. There wasn't a chance to see a reversal. Actually, as you can see, price just broke structure over and over again inside of this daily supply. Couldn't really manage to make any pullback to the downside. And after this daily supply zone break, price didn't really manage to mitigate any higher time frame supply at this region. So technically, this was a middle of nowhere reversal. There wasn't any daily or 4-hour supply zone, so it's really a middle of nowhere reversal. On the 15-minute time frame, I couldn't go back in the time in order to find any 15-minute supply at this point, but it doesn't really matter. Price action and price was extremely bullish on the 4-hour on the 15-minute time frame, but on the 15-minute time frame, actually, there was the last recent demand zone. Session started with this candle. This is the first candle of the session. And before session open, price was inside of this zone. When I started to make the markups for the session, price was inside of that last recent 15-minute demand. And after this 15-minute demand mitigation, personally, I was expecting the mitigation of this lower 15-minute demand that has caused the breakout structure, caused really nice volume candle, and had liquidity above it. But also we had a chance to see liquidity sweeping movement, sweep of this liquidity close inside of that 15-minute demand. And after this inside close, we could find a possible entry opportunity after the sweep of this liquidity. But as you can see, price couldn't really manage to make that movement and actually flipped the last recent valuable demand that has caused the breakout structure before with really nice volume candles. And after that flip, price has immediately mitigated the last recent 15-minute demand just below the liquidity pool that has caused the breakout structure. And after this 15-minute demand mitigation, I was still expecting the continuation to the upside. And actually, for my longs that I was waiting for, I would target this high point right here because this was the week high in this case. All right, so we could expect a liquidity sweeping movement and confirmation entry on the last recent demand. On the next demand, we could expect a confirmation entry. However, if it couldn't print a confirmation entry, then we barely had enough room, but we could look for sells, not really high probability sells down to the next demand. And after this demand break, I would expect bigger pullbacks to the downside. But until this demand hold, then I would look for longs mainly. And after this mitigation on this 15-minute demand, after the sweep of this liquidity, I was waiting for long. However, on the 5-minute time frame, you will see that, and actually on the 15-minute time frame, you can see that here was the reaction, and after the reaction, price broken the last recent demand and left behind a flip zone. This was the flip zone on the 15-minute time frame, which has been immediately mitigated after the flip of this zone. As you can see, price reacted on the demand and reacted on the supply immediately. But on the 5-minute time frame, it was more clear. As you can see. Here is the 5-minute refinement of the 15-minute supply, but we can call this one as a 5-minute flip zone. And you can see that this zone caused the break of the last recent demand. And price, after the mitigation of this 15-minute demand, which perfectly lined up with the 5-minute demand area, after the really nice V-shaped recovery, price reacted on this supply strongly, and this strong reaction was the main reason I did not execute a trade on this 1-minute entry POI. There was a 1-minute entry POI that has caused the flip of this supply. This was the last recent supply that has caused the breakout structure here. However, after this strong reaction, and yeah, after this strong reaction, I decided to wait. And actually, after this flip zone mitigation, I decided to wait for combined liquidation for this 1-minute entry POI because I only assume that price probably will broke this zone after this huge reaction, because beforehand, right here, we had a bit stronger bearish movements than bullish movements, but in over on the bigger picture, the bullish movements were still stronger than the bearish ones. So yeah, technically there was a possible entry opportunity. There was a flip zone. Right here was the last recent supply that has caused the breakout structure to the downside, and this supply has been flipped from this demand area, and I was monitoring this entry POI right here. This flipping movement, this character changing movement wasn't the most beautiful one, but technically this supply caused the break of the last recent low point, and this was the reason I was waiting for a possible entry opportunity on this 1-minute entry POI, which has also caused a really nice volume candle right here. And let's count the criteria first. So higher time frame zone mitigation was there, 15-minute 5-minute demand mitigation happened, liquidity take, there was really nice triple bottoms for this 15-minute demand area. There was inefficiency for the entry POI right here. And also we are in a pro trend. There is literally no doubt about it. Forer is extremely bullish. So there is literally no doubt about it. On the 15-minute time frame, technically price has broken below the last recent demand, but this last recent demand was part of the liquidity, and price immediately reacted with a perfect V-shaped recovery on the next recent demand. But because of the break of this 15-minute supply, and after the strong reaction on the opposite sided zone, I decided to wait for the combined liquidation here. However, we have all the 4 base criteria that we needed. I have all the 4 base criteria that I needed. So I started to count the variable ones. The first one was the change of character. Technically, the change of character happened here, but also we can count it here because this was the high point of the structure breaking movement. So change of character happened here, flip of this supply happened here. Perfect. We had V-shaped recovery after more than 50% mitigation on the higher time frames demand area, and we had corrective pullback, strong pro movement. On the 15-minute time frame, there is literally no doubt about it that the bullish movements were stronger than the bearish ones. This area was a bit different because price had to sweep this liquidity, but in overall, if we take a look on the price action, the bearish movements were much weaker than the bullish ones. So the bullish movements were the inefficient movements, the bearish movements were the weaker, efficient, slower movements. Perfect. We had liquidity target. Technically, this movement right here that has caused the sweep of this liquidity, price built up really nice amount of liquidity right here, and also this high was a middle of nowhere reversal, which means is liquidity for the future price action. So it was our 9th criteria, and we had 2 missing criterias. The first one was the combined liquidation. There wasn't combined liquidation for the entry POI, and the price was coming from opposite sided zone. Because of this strong reaction, if price would approach this entry POI slowly with efficient movements, then I would set a limit order on this 1-minute entry POI. As you can see, it was a valid entry POI because price reacted on it. Here is the footprint of the valid zone right here. But after the strong reaction, after the opposite side is zone mitigation, I decided to wait for combined liquidation for this entry POI. For me, combined liquidation is important when price is coming from an opposite sided zone with volume movements. So if price is coming from an opposite sided zone with volume movements, I need combined liquidation. Personally, I would like to see combined liquidation above or below the entry POI. However, if price slowly approaches the entry POI after an opposite sided zone mitigation, most of the times I'm not waiting for combined liquidation. But yeah, technically I had these 2 missing criteria. So this setup had 9 criteria, but these volume candles convinced me to wait for combined liquidation here. And as you can see, after the reaction, price even made a deeper mitigation, a little bit wick below the 15-minute demand. And after that, technically, the expectation order flow has happened perfectly. So price has flipped this zone. This flip happened from this 5-minute demand area where I was waiting for confirmation entry, or after that price made a new breakout structure, we were waiting for confirmation entry here. And after that, technically price has reached our weak high point, wicked above it, and started reversal to the downside. When this breakout structure happened here, I sent an update to wait for confirmation entry here on the last recent 5-minute demand area or on the lower one. But in the last 30 minutes of the session, price couldn't really manage to do anything. There wasn't any confirmation at all. Price couldn't manage to mitigate or couldn't manage to give a really nice reaction after this 5-minute demand mitigation. And technically, that's all. This is what happened on EU. Let me pause the recording and see you on GU in the next recap. So yeah, just a minute.